This spooky zombie analogy can be used to explain data sinks, data lakes, and data warehouses. You see, imagine a zombie rises from the dead. And not just any zombie, this was once a pretty lady. Oh yeah. And through this video, you will see how this pretty lady, aka the data, transforms into a beautiful woman once again. So how does that happen exactly? Well, once the pretty zombie gets out of the grave, let's imagine the zombie finds a lake nearby by the burial ground. And this brings us to our first technical concept, known as a data lake. A data lake is a very flexible, centralized, scalable repository that can store various types of data, such as vast amounts of raw, unstructured, semi-structured, and even structured data. In this analogy, that means that the raw zombie can go straight into the lake because the zombie doesn't need to be structured, aka pretty, in order to go into the data lake. This data flexibility in a data lake makes it ideal for big data analytics, machine learning, and even AI, artificial intelligence. But ultimately, the key technical takeaway is that data lakes are flexible. And this flexibility is referred to as Schema-on-Read. And this flexibility becomes a key differentiator as we move on to our next technical concept, known as the data warehouse. Now, unlike data lakes, data warehouses require structured data. In other words, the zombie needs to be pretty, not raw. So how can a data lake transform a raw, unstructured zombie into a structured, pretty zombie that is ready for the data warehouse? Well, the first stage is data ingestion or zombie ingestion, where the raw, unstructured zombie goes into the data lake. Oh yeah! Once the raw, unstructured zombie is in the data lake, this is where the structuring, filtering, and cleaning of the raw zombie begins. This process is called ELT, Extract, Load, Transform, or ETL, Extract, Transform, Load. You can visualize this as a pipeline as shown in the lake that converts the schema-on-read into a schema-on-write. E.g., the zombie goes from green to blue, aka transform. For the purposes of this video, I will refer to this as ELT, Extract, Load, Transform, but it could also be ETL. Nonetheless, the key technical takeaway is that this pipeline converts the data from the lake into a data warehouse. And that leads us nicely to our next technical concept, which is the data warehouse. Now, we briefly touched on data warehouses earlier, but I had to explain the ELT pipeline in order to fully understand the benefit of the data warehouse. Now, the data warehouse is a repository of highly structured, I repeat, structured data that has been transformed from the data lake via the ELT process, or the ELT data pipeline, if you will, which goes from the data lake all the way to the data warehouse via the ELT data pipe. And ultimately, data warehouses are used for a specific purpose, e.g. business intelligence, BI, and/or reporting. And again, to recap, data warehouses are schema-on-write, whereas data lakes are schema-on-read. And a bonus CISSP CCSP tip is that you might come across the term data lakehouse, which is a hybrid approach of a data lake and a data warehouse. But for the purposes of this video, I won't go into too much detail on that, as that's a slight nuance to the overall analogy. However, there is a more important technical keynote and exam bonus tip, which is around data lifecycles. You see, in a data lake and a data warehouse, the data must be secured throughout the data lifecycle. And the stages of such lifecycle was covered in my previous video, which if you have liked and subscribed, you have already seen. But for those who haven't, I highly recommend watching this, and this is linked in the screen now. And back to the video. This leads us to the final data concept, known as the data sink, that's S-I-N-K. And yes, that's the sink that could be in your kitchen or your bathroom. Or in the context of this video, the data sink that is in the data warehouse that is connected to the data pipe. Again, the data pipe in this analogy being the ELT. And you can think of the data sink as a final destination point where processed data is stored, collected, and managed after being extracted from various sources, e.g. the data lake, through the ETL and transformed into the data warehouse, where it comes out of the data sink. In this analogy, you can see the pretty zombie has now transformed back into the pretty lady she once was. Reminds you of the ugly duckling that became the beautiful swan, doesn't it? Except the plot twist was the ugly duckling was always the beautiful swan. And to recap, we had the zombie that went into the data lake, which then got transformed through the ELT, which then led to the data warehouse and came out the data sink. And this entire journey is shown here in the red hours, as you can see in the direction of travel. If you enjoyed today's video, it would be super awesome if you could leave a like and subscribe if not already to help support this small channel's growth. As I am only a small content creator, and I can't reiterate, ladies and gents, how important every like and subscribe is to really help push this channel further and further up in YouTube. Thank you for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed the content as much as I enjoyed creating it. If you would like to see more content like this, it would be super fantastic if you could leave a like and subscribe to help support this channel's growth.